I thought that I will just take a few minute rest and I went to complete sleep. So that shows that how much unmindful I was. Maybe, yes. So that reminds the moment that I was pulling the grass yesterday at our small garden. That I was reflecting. Every year we took the grass out from the garden and try to keep the flowers that we want to preserve. And it doesn't matter how much you take it out, it's still growing again and again, again and again. And the flowers and things that we really want them to grow, it grows so slow. So in our life as well, the practice of meditation is like taking the darkness or the kilesas that we have, it's taking it out from our hearts and the minds one after another. And it seems like a never-ending job. Constantly engaging in this or that, and unable to completely uproot this grass from our minds and our heart. But that doesn't mean that we should be discouraged to practice. So similar to not taking the grass out from the garden. It's okay, I'm not going to do this gardening and let it flow, let it grow as it is. Then grass will take control completely and will kill other flowers too. So that's the same in our hearts and minds too, that the more we take, the more we practice, any unwholesome thoughts and any unwholesome things that we have in our mind, we will be able to take out one after another, until the heart or mind become a complete purity. So that is the first benefit that the Buddha mentioned in the Satipatthana, that the practice of a Satipatthana meditation is to purify the humans, and that's the first thing. And when we purify, in the process of a purification, the Buddha said that we have to live a moral life and a concentrated mind, and that will help us to uproot these kilesas. But despite of pursuing in that path, we have obstacles, and that obstacles sometimes physical obstacles, and sometimes mental obstacles, and sometimes other obstacles from the surroundings and environments. Physical obstacles in a sense that I'm very tired and I don't want to practice meditation today, and so I better lie down or do something else rather than meditating. And so that's the physical obstacles. In terms of the mental obstacle, and I better enjoy something else rather than meditating. So we will go and do something else, and then with that, so we hindering our practice, not able to develop. Another time, the environment also affects us in the practice. Like the weather is not good, so I'm not going to practice. And then also surroundings, that the people that we associate with, they encourage us to follow the path in different ways, and rather than encouraging us to practice meditation, encouraging us to do something else, like going to the parties or having a pint of a beer. And with that, and we just completely lost away with that. So That's why we need to be very mindful in terms of the being mindful of the practice that we have to do again and again. Yeah? The practice, that's why the Buddha mentioned that if we practice Satipatthana continuously, then that helps us to develop the path to enlightenment, and that path to enlightenment begins with the mindfulness. Yeah. So, and this mindfulness again, we have to uh, see that it doesn't come alone. Yeah? We have to put a lot of efforts and a dedication, and we can see all the obstacles there. So we have to notice them, and then take them away. So we have to put a lot of effort on that. So in terms of the effort, the Buddha mentioned that we have to notice those unwholesome mindsets and these obstacles that comes and take away our time to meditate and cultivate. And then that moment, what we need to do is to recognizing them and then leaving them away. And cultivating the wholesome things. And this cultivation of a wholesome, again, that leads to the calmness of our mind. And with this calmness, it brings the stillness, and the stillness, the mind brings the composed and equanimity. That leads us to the vichara and the vimutti. Vichara means the knowing things as they truly are, and that leads to the liberation. Yeah? So it's a matter of a recognition of the obstacles that we may face time to time that may discourage us to practice. So being mindful of that obstacles in everyday life, and then we are pursuing ourselves with eradicating or just keeping them at the bay, and then continuously practicing. That will helps us to, at least if we're paving, taking the grass out and then let the flowers grow in our heart, and slowly blossoming, and at the end full blossoms and we become enlightened. Yeah? With this reflection, let's do the practice. So compose yourself, settling down, grounding yourself, this moment, here and now. You may spend a few moments on the primary object to settle down. To keep away all the distractions. And feeling, sensing the moment here and now, and anything that is coming. Being mindful of it, observing objectively, Now acknowledging that and noting, and let it go, come back, and developing the understanding that anything that arises or anything that we are observing is subject to change. Once it arises, it is bound to change and fading away. Understanding that the one who is observing and then an object that is observed is the mind and the matter. So observing mind is the mind and observed object is the matter. It doesn't matter what it is. Suppose arising, falling. Arising, falling is the matter, an object. Knowing mind is the matter, it is their mind. Everything that we observe in our meditation on the base of the matter, it generates the feelings. And on the basis of the feeling, if we engage, then we bring our memories and perceptions, and we define the recognition of this and that, and identifying and holding on to that identification. But rather than that, simply aware of that moment, knowing it as the mind or consciousness, and an object being observed, that's the matter. Knowing that each thing that arises has a cause and effects, and each thing that we have been noticing, that is self, at first is a result, but later becoming a cause to let our other arises. If that doesn't fades away, other objects cannot arise. So spontaneously aware of that process, cause and effect. In a tiny little bit, tiny parts of this changing nature. And it is not just the object that changes. Our knowing also changes too. The way we know it, it changes. So whether it is a physical pain or discomfort, whether it is our fabrication, or whether it is simple change, inability to accept and acknowledge that as in a true nature causes the suffering. So practice of a meditation is to be aware of that process. It doesn't matter whatever sensations or pains or itchiness that arises in our body. We have to have a right understanding with a right attitude. Or whether it is the fabrication on the things that you have observed or experiencing. Or whether it is simple change that you can experience. So having a balanced mind, an ability to understand it. And understanding the way it is in this very moment, as it occurs, as it takes place. So diligently, ardently, having a mindfulness and completely comprehending on things as they takes place.